This video is a little favor to a guy I don't know named ShadowSnake380 here on YouTube, but he is Logical Mind 35 on his Facebook page. Anyways, Logical Mind has run into what some of us would call a Dark Lord apologist, somebody who uses arguments that have long since been debunked, but uses them in a way that seems really convincing, uses a lot of sophistry, yada yada yada. And he asked me to take a look at this guy because he was having a bit of a problem, because he just had this innate sense that something was wrong about what he was saying, and could not, I guess, articulate his argument against this guy. Now, the guy who is posting on his post, on his page, the guy, I think I found the one he's talking about, and I looked at the guy's profile. Most of it's hidden, but there is a picture of Obama's America 2016. Like, you know, this is a movie that's propaganda, right-wing propaganda, and it's by Dinesh D'Souza. So I imagine what we're dealing with here is a guy who enjoys his conservative brainwashing. You know, extreme evangelical right conservative brainwashing. So this should not be hard. Let's see. Here we go. A truly logical mind would understand. Ever heard of Immanuel Kant? Yes, and I've actually heard of criticisms of Immanuel Kant. And you could just look at Wikipedia to get a good jump start there to see all of the criticisms of Kant's philosophy. Being a logical mind myself, I know a cheap attempt at baiting an argument when I see one. If you are of the belief that all knowledge is objective, then the burden of defending that position is on you. Now, this is called shifting the burden of proof, right? And it's also conflating empiricism with the belief that all knowledge is objective. See, all knowledge is objective. Empiricism, it's a school of thought that uses methodologies in order to find more knowledge. Okay, it isn't something saying that all knowledge is objective, period. Even the empiricist would have to fall back on things like I think, therefore I am, from Descartes, stuff like that. You know, there are limitations to empiricism, and empiricists know this. But they do know that it produces the goods and produces better and more verifiable information than other forms of divining knowledge, like God told me, or logic. You know, you being able to prove something not just through words and marking something up on a board and saying, look, this makes sense. If you actually have evidence where you can test it, it's another level of certainty. So him conflating empiricism with all knowledge being objective is him trying to set up a test which is invalid for whether empiricism is better than these other forms of faith-based reasoning that he's about to set up. So, absent a valid argument supported by empirical testing, a rational mind is free to reject such a position. And yeah, we've all heard of solipsisms, right? Anyways, let's see, next. He says, wow, the label a logical mind, and you don't even know Kant, or the two approaches to knowledge, rationalism and empiricism. I would say that that's the way that classically people have thought about knowledge, for centuries. That there was this dichotomy there, but there's actually more approaches to knowledge, like your own faith-based crap. In general, mystics and spiritualists fit into various camps of rationalism, except for they bastardize it with faith-based crap. In general, objectivists and atheistic naturalists fall under the camp of empiricists. Why you even have to say atheistic when you say naturalists? I see what you're doing here. Atheism actually doesn't have much to do with empiricism, other than it's a conclusion that many empiricists have come to. We don't start with the conclusion of atheism when we're using these methodologies. Really, by now you should know that this guy is a Dark Lord apologist. He knows what he's saying is wrong, and he's using it anyway just to confuse people. He's going through Kant's critique of pure reason. Anyone can look up the critiques of that very easily. But down here, this is where it gets interesting. This is true for all things empirical. Scientists often proclaim that there are no UFOs, but all that is necessary for this to be false is for one UFO sighting to be valid. Scientists often proclaim that there are no UFOs is the falsity here, as well as his setup here. If we use the criteria above to prove that prayers are not answered during a shuttle launch. And he says that empiricism has its universals. No, it doesn't. People aren't making these claims when they're using empiricism because they know that there's fucktards like this who will come and try to make something out of it. No empiricist would say there is no such thing as answered prayers. No one. There is no scientist saying that. Okay? They're saying that they don't have evidence for it. Okay? You can't come to the conclusion that there is no such thing as an answered prayer. All you can come to the conclusion of is that there is no evidence for it. And see, this is wordplay on his part that his entire argument hinges on. This is a straw man. Recognize it for what it is. Okay? The problem is that there are no way to test these exceptions, and therein lies the limits of science and empiricism. The last line here. This makes pure reason and scientific empiricism as much a faith-based worldview as theism, and it places the atheist and the theist on even ground when it comes to the knowledge game. So basically, if you are reading a science textbook and you test a few of the assertions in the science textbook, other things that have come through science as far as knowledge, and then you see somebody who claims that UFOs exist, and then you see someone who claims that Jesus healed him and that God exists. All three of those people, those are on even ground as far as being able to justify what they think they know. That's what the guy is saying. UFO crackpots, faith healers, and people who read a science book, test a few of the things out on their own, and they're getting their information from science books. Yeah, those are all on the same plane. Wrong. But I will say that this last line, where he's saying that atheists have just as much faith as someone who believes in a religion, that is a line that gets used so often. So often. And it is tiring. Actually, faith is the antithesis to skepticism. Seriously. Believing in things without having evidence of them. That's the definition that I'll use for faith here. But he might be thinking that it's knowledge zapped into your brain by God magically. That's another definition of faith. Either way, if you're using skepticism and empiricism in order to find new knowledge, you are not using either of those forms of faith. You're not believing in anything without evidence, and you are not believing that knowledge was magically zapped into your mind. And he will conflate logic and rationalism here with God zapping into his brain by saying that mystics and spiritualists use that. They don't. I wouldn't even insult rationalism by saying that God zapping something into my brain is rationalism, you know? Last thing he says, your God and the problem of evil argument is an old one, and that is nauseatingly repeated in a Tourette's manner by Richard Dawkins and other fundamental atheists. It's funny that he would call you a fundamental atheist when he enjoys promoting movies like Obama's America 2016, something enjoyed by many fundamental evangelical Christians. Anyway, perhaps I'll address that one in another time. Okay. So he's not really refuting it. He's just saying he'll address it another time because the problem of evil is so argued against, and you know, I've heard refutations of the problem of evil that were also refuted, you know, and I think it's good that he would go there, because all you have to do is read the cliff notes from everyone else who's ever dealt with this issue, and you can see that the problem of evil has been poning Christians for thousands of years now. So you should be able to handle that, Mr. Logical Mind. Next, let's see. He leaves a link to a man whose heart was healed, who it healed itself, is called a miracle by doctors. Let's see. Argument from authority. Miracle because doctors say so. There are probably other doctors who would say no. You know, there are even scientists who called something the God particle and then regretted calling it the God particle, okay? The word miracle can have many connotations. Maybe they think it's a Islamic miracle. Maybe those doctors are Muslims and they think Allah did it, not your God, you know? Miracle can actually have a non-religious meaning. Miracle as in something that happened that was unlikely and we benefited from it. You know? But of course, you're going to take it as Jeebus came down on high and healed this guy's heart. Even though probably nobody saw him check in. He probably didn't sign in at the front desk, did he? No. And he's probably not going to post on this Facebook thread either to help you out here, Robert, because he doesn't do things like that. He thought the best way to get information to us was to have stories of him written down, you know, hundreds of thousands of years hundreds and thousands of years ago. And yeah, he doesn't seem to speak directly in written word, except through people like you who get refuted quite easily in videos like this. So yeah, Mr. Logical Mind, let's see, Mr. Shadow Snake 360. I hope you can take it from here. I'll leave the rest to you.